Let's take it back to his campaign when he was candidate Trump. And it was like, oh yeah, well, what do you have to offer black Americans? He's like, what do you got to lose, huh? Like, seriously, what do you got to lose? Look at your communities. Look at what's taking place around you. What do you have to lose? And the deal is that, me being where I was in Irvington at the time, it was before I got elected into the Essex County Democratic Committee. I looked around and I was like, you know what? He's not wrong. Like, he's really not wrong. During President Obama's tenure, the poverty rate tripled in a little town called Irvington, New Jersey. That's my hometown. I got back there after a few years in California, living a fantastic life. All right. I've been all over this country living. And my dad asked me to come home, and I did. And I really got into politics, local politics, and campaigns. It's just that's just my shit. And I've worked for a lot of politicians. I've worked on a lot of causes with a lot of nonprofits and organizations, and I gotta say that it's been disheartening, to say the least, to see how the poverty and the deterioration and the destituteness and all of the problems and ills that befall urban America are basically industries and capitalized on by so many different outside forces. And those who are inside sit there and just do whatever it is that I'll say, the county level demands that they do. How do I get this grant money? Oh, you got to sit there and you got to kiss the ring and then do a backflip. I'm on it, boss. That type of deal. And so what did we have to lose? I think nothing at all. With over 70% of the children coming up in single parent households, the constant ownership of these areas in Democratic Party hands has just left them completely decimated. And yet you got this guy that pops up and he says, hey, I'm gonna do what I can. You gotta respect it. You have to respect this First Step Act. We have this article coming to us from Fox News. Let's get into it. Thousands of ex-prisoners to reunite with their families this month as part of the First Step Act by Caleb Park. CEO and former inmate Marcus Bullock talks importance of President Trump's First Step Act. More than 2,200 federal inmates are returning to their families this month from behind bars under the bipartisan prison reform bill President Trump signed into law last year, according to policy experts and prison advocates involved in the effort. This month will see the largest group to be freed so far under a clause in the First Step Act that reduces sentences due to earned good time. In addition to family reunification, the formerly incarcerated citizens, 90% of whom have been African American, hope to get employment opportunities touted by Trump last month at the White House as part of the Second Chance hiring program. We're a nation that believes in redemption, the president said, noting Americans with criminal backgrounds are unemployed at rates up to 5 times that the national average, which is around 3.8% earlier this year. You're going to have an incredible future. The Trump administration has asked the private sector to help the ex-prisoners reacclimate to their newfound freedom with jobs and housing in one of the largest criminal justice public-private partnerships ever assembled. This is fantastic. This really is. Kim Kardashian West, who successfully lobbied President Trump to free Alice Johnson, a great-grandmother who was serving a life sentence convicted of drug trafficking for their first-time nonviolent drug offense, announced a partnership with rideshare organization Lyft to hand out gift cards for reformed criminals to get to and from job interviews, as transportation can be a barrier. They just every step of the way. This is good stuff. This is beautiful. This is getting people back into the world after doing hard time for something they are, particularly when it comes to the nonviolent drug offenses. They never should have been locked up for the first place. Let's end this drug war, guys. I just want to thank the president for really standing behind this issue and seeing the compassion that he's had for criminal justice has been really remarkable, the Keeping Up with the Kardashians star said during a second chance hiring and re-entry event at the White House in June. The Society for Human Resources Management has offered 300,000 human resources professionals behind this effort, and Goodwill International pledged its national network of re-entry providers. Matthew Charles, the first inmate released from the program and recognized by Trump for being a model citizen, told America's Newsroom barriers to employment and housing need to be eliminated so former inmates don't find themselves back in prison. Yes! Like, that's called recidivism, people, because you send them back out into the world with all these fines and also with the scarlet letter of having a felony or prison time on them. And best of luck, good luck to you. This is really fantastic. The Trump administration has broad amount of support across government departments, from labor to Department of Justice to Department of Education, as well as governors across the country streamlining state services in order to reduce the barriers Charles mentioned. Another provision of the First Step Act is moving prisoners to within 500 miles of their families to help with visitation. Jessica Jackson, an attorney and national director of #Cut50, told The Stream it's a huge benefit to everyone involved. Relationships have been destroyed by the isolation of incarceration, Jackson said. This way, people will be able to grow their support network prior to release. It's a huge benefit to public safety. All right, and that's the end of it, Caleb Park. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. And honestly, thank you, President Trump. Thanks, man. I mean, the locals aren't bothering with this. I mean, you think Phil Murphy gives a damn about anybody that's going in and out of prison? Hell no. He's sitting there battling with Norcross. Like, thank you. Thank you, President Trump. What do we have to lose? Good question, huh? I mean, but there's a lot of people in my community, within these communities, because see, one of the things that is not being recognized is that within the communities that many of these gentlemen come from, the politicians and the elected officials there are so corrupt and so about their own pockets that what's best for the people is an afterthought. I promise you. So this is actually, I mean, honestly, at this point, I'm willing to say I'm a Trump supporter. I ain't getting a MAGA hat or nothing like that, but I'm willing to say I support this man because he's actually these are people actually getting moved out of prison. And yeah, this is just at the federal level. Imagine if the state levels actually worked with this type of idea, but we got tons of blue states that are run by Democrats, of which I am one, sadly enough, right? That make sure that things like this, because they need them in prisons. They need them in the prisons. Would you like to know why? I mean, there's a couple of states right now that are being sued because they're not locking up enough people. Think about that. Seriously. How jacked up is that? So, that being said, all the internet stuff. If you liked it, toss me a like. If you dislike it, hey, go ahead. I ain't scared of you. Sub if you enjoy my fantastic voice. And you will get more interesting news like this every single day. Share, because sharing is caring. And YouTube's definitely not going to do it. And speak. Let me know, what do you think in the comments? I mean, this is the type of thing that makes me want to pull the button for him in 2020. Because he made a bunch of promises and he's actually trying to keep his promises. And when you go to people and they're just like racist, sexist, xenophobic, and it's the same thing that they've been screaming for the last 3 years. It's just tune out, man. It just tunes me out personally. Let me know what you think of that in the comments. And until the next video,